Hi, I'm John Shane for Acoustic Guitar. Today I'm going to do a lesson on the Beale Street Blues, great old blues tune by W.C. Handy, first published in 1917. Before we get into actually learning the tune, we're going to do some exercises. There are some things that are important to get used to in this kind of music. Originally it was done for piano and then also made for fuller bands and not done on the guitar. So what I've done is putting it onto the guitar, trying to keep as much of the bass going as I can while playing the melody that would have been the vocal. Okay, so one of the things that helps this tune along is putting it into the key of A. It was not probably originally in the key of A, but I've used this A chord shape to do most of my stuff because holding the one finger down allows me to get notes that are above it. There's the A major pentatonic scale. And I can also dip the finger back to grab a C and bring it up to C sharp, so a minor third to major third. And even in the melody, there's this F to F sharp thing. So like, watch how the melody works. My thumb is going to be doing, kind of an alternating thing. Although I have left the bass note out of the fourth note of exercise 1, so it makes it a little bit easier. So I go, exercise 1 goes like this. Right, but now I'm going to put the bass in. Right? And so you see that I can dip this finger back, not to get a whole chord, but just to get one note, okay, keeping the finger in place, okay? Sometimes it's not obvious in a tab that you're using this kind of a method rather than trying to reach back for it. Okay, so exercise 2 has the answering phrase, the lick that comes after the vocal, and that goes like this. Now with the bass, I go. So what I want to do, the harder part about this in exercise 2, is on the upbeat of the first beat, I go 1, and when I go to 2, that's where the thumb falls. And then for these last few notes, when you're on the D string, you can use your index finger or you can use a thumb. Doesn't matter. Either way, sounds pretty good. That's exercise number 2. Great thing to look into with these kind of old ragtime style blues tunes is the moving bass lines. If you've only played folk style guitar up to now, you may have done a lot of alternating thumb. And alternating thumb is a great place to start from because you start to develop the thumb independence that's so necessary for this style of playing. But the moving bass ideas mean that we're going to actually get some melodies going on in the thumb as well. And especially where we do notes that lead to the next chord. These are called leading tones. And often it might be that kind of thing where I'm going A, and then instead of A, D, I might go C sharp, that would move to a D chord, that kind of a thing. And you'll see these kind of things, tubas play them all the time, and you hear them in the left hand of piano players. So it's a great thing to add to the ragtime style of guitar playing. Okay, so we're going to look in exercise 3. I grabbed a riff that kind of comes out of the introduction that we did. I'm doing a D7 chord, holding in the C7 shape. Okay, so you take your C7 chord, move it up 2 frets, and there you are. Now, we can also use the open E string with this chord because it turns it into a D9. Okay, and so the thing about looking at the tab is that number 2 on the G string that comes in the offbeat of beat number 2. That's pretty tough if you were going to hold it like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to play those first three notes, 1 and 2, and then I catch the 2, the fourth note back here, and I put the F sharp down. And then I'm just going to let go of the chord. So it goes. Right? So the end of the measure there, exercise 2, is just something to end it so it sounds like something musical. So what we really see in there is in the D chord, we have a D, and then this F sharp is the major third of D, lower than the D. And then I lead the F, which leads me to the E in the A chord. Okay. The next exercise, exercise 4, is bass lines that have a little extra to them. We're going to do eighth notes, and they kind of move along quickly. And I did one of these in the midst of the tune, and you may recognize it. But where I go A, I go, let's see. Right, so my A is, I can either go, or I could go, right? So I see. And that's kind of fun stuff to just practice, you know. Stuff like that. And another big piece of this music is that the melody notes sometimes that we want are not going to fall on a downbeat. They tend to fall on the and of the beat before it. So let's say I'm in an E chord. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, right? And it's just like if you look through the sheet music of W.C. Handy's music, you will see over and over that melody notes jump in before you would expect. And that's no big deal when looking at piano. But when you're looking at the tab of a guitar, that may be confusing because you see a number on there that doesn't look like there's any way that you could reach it from the chord that you're in. And so what you got to think about there is if you're in E and there's a 5 in here, but the A chord is about to come, it means that I'm going to think about this A chord and I'll be moving my hand towards it sooner than later. So in exercise 5, I have something like this. Right, so up to speed more. And so that 5, you see, is actually in the measure before the A chord. So you want to just kind of work on getting to those notes sooner. I just literally move my whole hand into that position that much sooner. All right, so you're sticking with me so far. We're now going to look at the whole song. Okay, so it starts with this introduction. It's got 4-bar introduction, and folk blues did not probably have that at that time, but it was very popular in musicals and in theater pieces and things like that. And Handy definitely wanted to bring the blues to a more mass audience. So he started to put introductions into the blues. And now we still see them today in tunes. So in this one, he's got A, and then he does, this is an A7 where I'm using a C sharp in the bass. Okay, so he goes 4. And then to that D7, right, which again I'm doing as a C7 shape with our little thing, right, with our little moves. So he goes. And there's our intro. Now we start into the verse, and it's more or less what we saw in the first exercise and the second exercise, where I'm going to go A. high A, little kind of more major sounding riff, and we can put bass notes behind that, obviously, which you'll see in the tab. I think it's more important to get the feel of the song before you worry about having every note perfect. You know what I mean? So then the next chunk is a D chord doing much the same thing. And in order to play this D chord, the fingering that I've got is index finger on the G string, middle finger on the B string, pinky up on the high A. So I call this, myself, I call this a D5 because I'm not really playing that F sharp note right there. And so I got, okay, so I'm going to put all that together, right? So I got, I've seen the lights of gay Broadway, Old Market Street by the Frisco Bay. There's my little quick bass run, right? I've strolled the Prado, I've gambled on the Bourse. And so that E chord, I went up here for this this G sharp note, pinky, but there's no bass note at that time, so I can actually let go of the chord a little bit. The 7 wonders of the world I've seen, and many are the places I have been. Take my advice, folks, see Beale Street first. Anyways, I thank you for checking this out. I'm John Shane for Acoustic Guitar. Remember, when you're playing this stuff, don't go too fast. Get it good at a slow pace before you bring it up, and you will be happy that you did. If you'd like to check out more of that song, I've recorded it on my Getting Handy with the Blues album, and I also have a tab book out with Mel Bay called Getting Handy with the Blues. So, thanks very much.